It's been 2 months since I started using the iPhone 13 Pro right after I concluded the review of the iPhone 13 mini. I don't normally rush into reviews of Pro iPhones because of certain features not available at launch, and I also wanted to wait for a couple more software updates to deliver a more accurate review. And since we are now on iOS 15.2, it's time to conclude my thoughts on whether this is the Pro iPhone you should get. As you would always expect from Apple, the iPhone 13 Pro is an extremely well-built device and has the same design language as its predecessor with a few notable changes. Although I appreciate the thinner notch, but it really didn't improve the viewing experience compared to previous iPhones. I've been using the iPhone 12 Pro Max as my daily driver last year, and although I really do miss that larger display, the iPhone 13 Pro's smaller footprint makes it a lot pocketable and one-hand friendly, which I didn't regret not upgrading to the Pro Max this time. Of course, I am missing out two things such as a larger battery and faster 30-watt charging, but otherwise, the iPhone 13 Pro has pretty much the same bells and whistles as the Pro Max. Probably the most anticipated yet overdue feature that one have been expecting Apple to include on iPhones is a high refresh rate display, and they finally did it on the iPhone 13 Pro by including its Pro Motion display tag. This is a 120Hz LTPO OLED display with an adaptive refresh rate that goes down to an impressive 24Hz or 10Hz, which translates into power savings when you aren't interacting with the display, such as reading an article. While you might argue that this merely gives smoother scrolling and transitions just like how Android phones have already achieved, Apple has gone the extra mile by requiring developers to build and update apps to natively support Pro Motion. This means that instead of just driving the screen on an operating system level, the app or game is also responsible for telling the Pro Motion display on what refresh rate it needs to be on, which ultimately results in a more consistent refresh rate, but at the same time, apps that aren't updated to support Pro Motion will be stuck at 60 frames per second. But this is hardly an issue for me, as I only faced this issue on one app, and subsequent software updates have resolved the inconsistent refresh rate issue that everyone is talking about at launch. The App Privacy Report introduced on iOS 15.2 may not be that functional in your everyday activities, but it gives you a really good insight and total transparency on how your iPhone and app is sending and accessing data. Last but not least, the live text feature that lets you extract text from photos is a darn smart feature that I use a lot if I don't have time to note things down. Overall, iOS 15 is probably the least buggy update that I've ever experienced and works very well on my iPhone 13 Pro over the past 2 months. Now, let's talk cameras, which I'm really happy that Apple no longer discriminates the Pro with a different camera system from the Pro Max. It is the main reason why you're going to want to pick it up over the iPhone 13 and why I have been waiting for the iOS 15.2 update to drop. With a larger sensor and faster f1.5 aperture compared to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the main 12-megapixel sensor gets better when it comes to indoor and low light with almost non-existent noise levels most of the time and accurate colors. What's even more impressive is the color consistency that the camera system is able to maintain when switching between lenses. The ultra-wide and telephoto sensor are still obviously not as good as the main sensor when it comes to low light, but I would consider them to be more usable than any other phone cameras I've tested in the same lighting condition. The macro shooting mode is decent and easily makes the iPhone 13 Pro the best smartphone macro camera, as you can really get up close to an object when you want to. And I'm glad on iOS 15.2, Apple lets you manually activate macro mode, as the automatic macro switch previously can be rather annoying, though the switch still happens on third-party apps when the camera detects that you're trying to get up close to an object. iOS 15.1 brings ProRes video recording to the iPhone 13 Pro, which is generally a video codec that allows the camera to capture more data and a wider dynamic range than the standard H.264 codec for post-color grading purposes. This is a pretty significant achievement on a smartphone camera, but something that I have never needed to use during the review period. But on a simple video sample test, shooting in ProRes results in flatter colors and more refined details, which is great for those who want to quickly shoot a video and color grade it in post. But Apple still doesn't include more advanced image settings in the camera app, such as ISO, shutter speed, and white balance, which is a long overdue feature that Pro iPhones deserve to have. But there's thankfully apps like Filmic Pro that lets you do that. So on a good busy day with a lot of texting and notifications, the iPhone 13 Pro will leave me around 35% of battery when I end my day at midnight with around 4.5 hours off screen on time. The result has been consistent during my 2-month review period, and I have never been more impressed than most Android flagships I've used. In fact, I would rate it to be similar to my iPhone 12 Pro Max, and you should technically experience even better battery life if you pick up the iPhone 13 Pro Max. In most cases, I would usually tell people to hold off their iPhone upgrades if they had already owned last year's model, but in the case of the iPhone 13 Pro, it is a big step up from its predecessor and the iPhone 12 Pro Max in many ways, and it is easily the best premium flagship smartphone I can recommend if you can spend that much of cash on a smartphone. It remains my go-to smartphone over the past 2 months, and I'm sure you will feel the same if you own the iPhone 13 Pro. So that's all for my long-term review of the iPhone 13 Pro for these past 2 months. It's been a really great smartphone that I really recommend you guys to continue to check out. So stay tuned for more tech videos coming right up on the channel. Definitely say subscribe for that and give us a thumbs up if you love what you saw. I'm Warren, and I will see you guys in our next video.